Hello again. I'd like to discuss a little bit about how the body does become intoxicated with these chemicals and what the long-term effects are of this. So when toxins come into the body, and the roots are through the skin and through the lungs and through the intestines primarily, and these toxins enter into our bloodstream and also into another fluid in the body called a lymphatic fluid or lymphatic system. The body tries to break them down, metabolize them, excrete them the best it can, but no person's body is 100% efficient in this, and therefore some of the residues are left circulating in the body, and this innate intelligence wants to get those residues and toxins out of the body, but at least away from vital organs such as the nervous system, the brain, endocrine system, etc. So it will intelligently compartmentalize these toxins, these residues, into the least important cells, which are the fat cells, and primarily into the layer of fat just under the skin called the subdermal fat layer. So I think this is part of its wisdom. There's also fat, in the brain. There's also fat, a certain type of fat that surrounds the nervous system. So some people, especially heavy metals, some people will have neurological issues from those types of toxins coming into the body. One of the issues which I think is important to address, because it's a concern with many people, and that is weight gain. What happens when these residues get into fat cells? And partly this is from some recent research about 6 months ago, looking at a small component inside of every single one of our cells called the mitochondria. Mitochondria have many different functions, but one of the most important functions is to produce energy. So the vitality of our cell has many things that go about creating vitality, one of which is the mitochondria producing energy, or ATP. And the research is showing that these residues, chemical residues, as well as residues from drugs, the psychopharmaceuticals, the opiates, benzodiazepines, even a drug as benign as a lipid-lowering drug, like Lipitor. Those are being found inside of the mitochondria cells. I have no idea how they're discovering this, but it's been in the research. It's a hot topic recently. So what happens when these residues are transported into fat cells and get into the mitochondria, that means the metabolism of that fat cell slows down. And fat cells contain fat, which is a form of potential energy, meaning that the body can, at certain times, pull the fat out of that cell and use it or turn it into glucose. So if the body cannot, because the metabolism of that fat cell has become so slow, it cannot actually draw fat out of those fat cells, then the person cannot lose any weight, and their metabolism continues to decline no matter how little they eat, no matter how much exercise they try doing. They lose some weight, they come to a certain point. No matter how little they eat, they cannot get the fat out of those cells to turn into glucose. And there's another issue as well with weight gain. Let's say obesity. I don't like the word, but weight gain, and that is that very often people who are overweight have a very high total body burden of chemicals and residues in their body. And if some of those residues come out of the fat cells and start getting back into the blood circulation and the lymphatic system, that innate wisdom is kind of triggered and does not want the fat to come out anymore, because with it are coming those chemicals. So it sets up sort of a strong reaction kind of a fight or flight reaction, and then the adrenals get involved and adrenaline's produced, and it's a very difficult place for people to get out of. And I do believe that if we can provide nutrients for the body, if we can provide the vitality of the body, that wisdom is much more likely to allow the fat and the toxins to come out, especially when we're reducing the total body burden through various therapies, such as we use lymphatic hydrotherapy, the application of hot and cold compresses to the back and to the front, lymphatic drainage, getting the, so to speak, the swamp cleared out so that the body can deal with more toxins. Another very rapid and effective way of getting toxins from the fat is actually to have the body sweat. I don't care really how it sweats, what kind of saunas a person uses, but I will tell you that I believe that the infrared saunas are a little extreme when a person is overburdened by toxins, because the penetration of that infrared is so deep that a lot of toxins are released out into the bloodstream and lymphatic system. I really prefer using the saunas which are steam or a dry sauna that just barely penetrates the skin, and a lot of toxins come out through the perspiration. That's the quickest, easiest, and almost has an immediate effect upon how people are feeling. So blood sugar regulation is an issue also. It's a little difficult to explain, but let's say when a person has some degree of insulin resistance, which is very common when a person is overweight, and that meaning what that means is that the insulin levels in their body are on their set point is much higher than other people who don't have this issue. And when insulin is elevated, it prevents the fat and the toxins from coming out of the fat cell. When insulin drops down to much lower levels, then those gateways, those channels that help to release fat and toxins, can then open up more easily. And this is why being on a purification program that's using primarily juices, which are a very concentrated form of high-quality organic, of course, high-quality nutrients, which have a very low glycemic index, which means the vegetables that are used do not cause blood sugar to go up much, and therefore insulin will remain relatively low. It does take a while for those people who have some degree of insulin resistance for that insulin to finally start coming down. They start releasing those toxins. And then, of course, when those toxins are released, we're talking here about purification into the body, into the cell, and into the mitochondria. And when those toxins start to come out, the mitochondrial function starts to increase, ATP or energy production improves, the health of that fat cell vitality starts to increase, and it's much more easy to help to excrete the fat from those cells. So my experience has been that no matter what the condition that a person is suffering from, going through the purification program through high quality nutrient dense juices, going through the therapies for helping the body to remove obstacles to cure, or through the removal of toxins and residues, no matter what the condition, everyone begins to re-experience the level of vitality they used to know. We're living in a highly toxic world and we don't even recognize it. And our policies, our government policies, our Environmental Protection Agency is really sort of sitting back and not really doing all that much to protect our population from these insidious chemicals that we're all being exposed to. There's many reasons for this. It's primarily the corporations which are multi-million dollar, multi-billion dollar corporations which have a great influence upon regulation. And I think the government also knows that if they put too many regulations, it'll cause some financial issues within our country right now. So many things going on, and part of our program is not just giving therapies and providing these programs for purification, but it's really a lot about education. People do not realize the chemicals, the molds, the different solvents, the cleaning solutions, the dry cleaning. All of these things are having a small but significant effect looking at the accumulation over time. So purification is a way out of the darkness and into the light. The medical system is not really helping to support people's wellness or even the prevention of disease. It's working at the top layer, the critical illnesses, or I should say maybe the bottom layer, when people's health has sunk so far down that they can't see the light above. And we are here to hopefully provide the education to empower people to take back their health and vitality.